You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast with your dating coach, Trip, from tripadvice.com. Do you struggle with getting girls to like you? Well, you're going to learn step-by-step how to talk to girls to create deep connections and meet the woman of your dreams. Here's your host, me, Trip. Hey, welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. This is your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. And today on this episode, we have an interview with a buddy of mine, dePriest, and we're talking about sexting. And we're going to be going into some great detail here. So in just a minute, you're going to be hearing about that. Now, before we get into that interview, I want to quickly announce my brand new program called Hooked. And Hooked is going to teach you how to get girls interested in you and addicted to you so you can actually have the opportunity to sext with them. So if you have trouble getting numbers, if you have trouble getting women attracted to you, I created a step-by-step program that gets women addicted to being around you. And I've basically laid out all the techniques that I've been using and teaching over the years into an easy-to-follow, step-by-step system. So go check it out at getherhooked.com, and then you can learn how to get more numbers and how to get more sex and have the opportunity to actually sext with girls. So go get it. It's called Hooked, and you can get it at getherhooked.com. Now, let's get into this interview with dePriest talking about how to properly sext girls. And before we get into it, I just want to give you a little disclaimer. Sexting can be very powerful, but it also can be used very wrong, okay? So there can be a lot of dangerous mistakes you can make with sexting if you're doing it with a girl who's not interested in it. So I really urge you to listen to every single bit of this and not just fast forward or anything to get to some of the techniques, but it's really important you know when to do it and how to do it. There are some rules that go along with it. So make sure you pay attention closely and check it out right here, my interview with Race. Hey Race, how you doing, man?
Doing great, dude.
I'm excited to be talking about today's topic, which I've talked about a little bit on some YouTube videos, but I haven't really dug deep into this, and we're talking about sexting. So before we get into that, maybe give a little bio on yourself, tell the guys who you are, how you got into this, why you specialize in this, and your story.
Well, I didn't have a job. I was living with my buddy who was a musician, traveling musician out in Vegas. And so I had a lot of time on my hands. So I just started meeting a bunch of girls with him because he, had a bunch of girls always coming to his shows. So then I just, for a year and a half without a job, I was just dating like crazy. Like some girls I would have to have 14 days out because I literally had 14 different girls already scheduled out 2 weeks out.
Wow.
And so, so that was already just crazy. I mean, I don't definitely recommend that for any just guy. That was just a period of my life. But when I moved to New York to work with, as a coach with a group of dating coaches, who's Art of Charm actually, and I was out in New York, we were all on a group plan. And everyone, one of the guys in the company was like, let's look and see who's actually texting the most girls. And so he looks at the plan, and I think, one of the guys, like second highest guy was maybe sending out 1,700 to 2,000 texts a month. And then they looked at mine, and it was over 7,000 a month.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so I was like, with all these dating coaches, all their job is to go out and meet girls, and they're texting, and meeting up. And this is New York City, so there's a lot of opportunity. Even with those as the people compared to, I was still sending out over 7,000 texts a month. Like, I didn't even realize I was sending out that many. So needless to say, after doing that for a couple years, I kind of figured out patterns pretty clearly of what works and what doesn't work. So that's kind of how I got into it. And they're like, okay, you need to write a product on this. Because, I was the guy that even dating coaches would hand me their phone. Still do, actually, to this day when I hang out with them. They hand me their phone and be like, dude, how do I get this girl to come over? What do I say next? So, and that's just because, I put in my time and I've texted so many girls over such a long period of time. So
Nice.
that's kind of how I got into it.
That's great. So you definitely have a lot of experience with
Yeah.
texting and things like that. And so, yeah, I thought today would be cool to go into sexting and maybe the purpose of sexting and how it's done and why you should do it and things like that, because I know guys have questions on it. For me, in terms of how I view sexting and the whole idea behind it is I don't think it should be even done until, okay, let me rephrase this. I think that the purpose of sexting should be to turn her on throughout the day, and you kind of use it almost as like foreplay. Now that's just my thing. I don't know how you use it, but that's how I do it. Is you'll do some sexting to kind of turn her on, but usually, unless we're escalating to that point, I usually don't do it too much until we've already had sex. But again, that's just me. So I'm curious to know what your theories behind it are, and what do you think the purpose of it is, and things like that. And then we can go into the details of how you actually do it and the practical steps.
The juicy how to do it. Yeah, I guess maybe one of the things I just loved was getting naked pictures, to be honest, from girls. Like sometimes, well, I don't know, oftentimes before I even like met up with them. Like, so I was meeting a lot of girls on social media apps, like on Facebook and stuff, or on online dating sites like OkCupid, because I didn't have a car or a job, once again, so I could go out to meet them. So that was one reason why I started doing it. But you're absolutely right. I got really good at it to the point where it's silly not to use it to make her so turned on during the day that when she shows up, like, it's game on. You're already like at level 13. Like, a lot of times they come over and we'd end up hooking up before we went out for the night. So yeah, I agree with you completely. And it's a fun way to keep you on her mind. But I also agree with you. There's a certain type of girl that you can move further ahead with through sexting before you've had sex. But most of the time, it's the best way I've seen to use the tool is with girls you've hooked up with to, yes, definitely keep them turned on and start getting more of what you want out of the sexual relationship even.
How do you mean by that?
Because so there'll be stuff that I'll do, like say, a girl gave me a great blowjob. I'll talk to her. I'll send her something the next day. Be like, you know what? I can't stop thinking about. And of course she'll say what, and I'll talk about like that amazing blowjob you gave me, and then she'll be like, feel proud of it, start thinking about it again, and go, maybe I should do that more often. She'll say something, maybe we can practice tonight, and I'll be like, that would be amazing. So it's like already set up of what I wanted for the next night when we're hanging out, like, or you can talk about like things you want to do, get her already thinking about it in a really positive light, so that when she shows up and you guys are getting it on, she already knows what you're doing that night. So that's what I mean by being able to get more out of what you want out of the sexual relationship, instead of having to always say it like right when you're doing it. It'd be great right now. Instead, she's been looking forward to doing it all day, and it's like already known, and it's game on. So it's just a fun little thing you can do with it.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's a great tool to communicate to a girl your sexual desires, basically, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, definitely. Which obviously I'm not saying you can't and don't do it in person. Obviously do that, but it's really fun for her to think about it in the juxtaposition of she's probably at work or at school or I don't know, subway or out to dinner with friends, and she's getting these texts about things that she shouldn't be feeling or thinking about while in that position. So it kind of heightens it and makes it more exciting. It's just another funny little tip about sexting.
Right. It's like it's foreplay during the day.
Yeah, shouldn't have been doing it. Shouldn't be talking about this right now. Shouldn't be thinking these thoughts right now. And that's really turns on girls quite a bit. So it gets them super excited for that night, and then they just like literally come to like open the door and they attack you. And I know that's a fantasy of a lot of guys, but you can actually make that happen. She really shows up to your house and wants to rip your clothes off because she's been thinking about it. She's been building the fantasy, and you've been just helping her do that in her head all day.
Right, exactly. And it's And yeah, it's girls like that when it's a little bit naughty like that. Her thinking about that stuff in the places where she shouldn't be thinking about that stuff, and
No way.
it's all
Girls don't like that,
secretive.
right? That's why 50 Shades of Grey didn't really do that well.
Right.
Except for like the number one selling book of all time.
Right, and movies made out of it. And I think actually the
Yeah.
second movie comes out this weekend.
And that's what this podcast is actually about. We're telling you to go see that movie. Promo for that movie.
Right, go see 50 Shades, whatever it's called, 50 Shades Darker. Oh, they owe me money for that. Okay.
I know, right?
Nice. That's cool. So, let's go back a little bit. You said something interesting before about the fact that you might have a girl who's a little bit more interested in it before you guys end up fooling around, and other girls who might not. So, do you have any ideas or tips on how you can recognize a girl who might be interested beforehand?
Definitely. I mean, that's one of the parts in my book is it's gauging a girl's sexual radar. There's like certain ways you can send text that can be misinterpreted either sexually or just normally. So it's like you're not putting yourself on the hook, like explicitly saying, I want to take your panties off or something. Instead, you say something that can be interpreted, in a like where she'll play back sexually. And that's how you just you can gauge the radar of where she's at and know if you should push forward with it or wait until you guys have hooked up and then you can just be, because not all girls are explicitly sexual. So like just basic stuff. Like I say stuff like I saw the cutest, what are some of the ones I've used? I have so many. Like, one of the cutest, I saw the cutest squirrel in the park today, made me think of you. And some will say something like, why? Because it had nuts in its mouth. And like, you could tell like, okay, game on. She wants to talk about stuff like that. Or, a lot of sexual innuendos so that she'll either go ha ha or she'll like push further on it. But yeah, you send out just like little innocuous things that could be misinterpreted as sexually oriented. And then you see if she grabs onto it or bypasses it.
Right. Like a girl who's more interested in it might respond to it and say something back to it, like you just said, like, oh, nuts in the mouth. Like she'll catch on to the sexual innuendo and add to it, or you'll get a girl that will just be like, very funny.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's so sweet. Take it literally.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, okay, not going that route.
yeah, exactly. Oh, do you have anything off the top of your head, like another sexual innuendo that you could send a girl that you could test for that?
Like I'll talk about, I know there's one talking with a girl and she's like, or I would say like when it snowed, I was like, wow, we got 7 inches today. And I hear, that's quite satisfying to most women or something like that, and see if she just laughs or if she like continues on with, the sexualness of it. So, but it's always, you can do it in a fun, playful way where you can bounce off of it if she doesn't want to go that route. So it's like another one I love doing is the dirty dream technique that I use. This is probably one of my favorites that ever come with. So
Wait a minute, I have one of these too. I wonder if it's the same one. I'm not kidding.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
let's compare.
I had the dirtiest dream about you last night.
Okay. Yeah.
So something's going on here. 1, it's dirty dream, so curiosity piqued. And 2, it's a dream, so you can't be held accountable for it. I mean, who controls their dream? And then here's where you can go with it. So she'll usually ask, well, what was it? And then you can backpedal if you want. If you think she's not feeling, be like, well, we were, in the rain and making out. And then now she's thinking about this. And then she'll sometimes go like, no, what else? Tell me more. Or she'll be like, oh, that's weird. And then you just go like, and then I pushed you in a puddle of mud. It was so dirty. So you can always backpedal out of it, which is nice when you're unsure of where a girl's at. But that helps you gauge where she's at, because if a girl keeps asking you more and more about the details, she's probably into it and having the idea of you guys like making out and having a sexual experience. Or she might be like, oh, that's and you can tell like she's not getting that into it, then you just say I pushed you in a puddle and it becomes fun and playful. So that's one of my favorite techniques. You can play with it, you can gauge your radar, but it never puts you in danger because you can always backpedal out.
Right. Yeah, mine is a little bit more forward, but it 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 offers her an opportunity to respond in a way where I don't have to continue it. So, okay, I'll just say it. So basically, I will text a girl and say, I had a crazy dream last night. Or you can say, I had a crazy dream about you last night, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you even say, like, I had a crazy dream last night, ... And then she's like, oh, what was it? And then you say, I'm not going to lie, it involved you and it was rated R. Right? Something like that. And then that gives the opportunity to say whatever. She can shut it down right there and say like I don't know what she could say. I usually work, so I don't know. She'll say like oh no, but there was a time that it didn't really pan out. It was like oh God or something like it didn't. Basically, okay. There's two ways to respond. She's either going to say tell me more, or like ooh tell me more, or she's going to want to know about it, and it's very clear it's a sex dream because you're saying it involved you and it's rated R. Right. So if she's saying, tell me more, boom, you're in. And then you can start going into like really softer details. And then depending on how she responds, you can get dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. And then like, boom, you're in. You can just start sexting. But if she doesn't respond in a way that's like, I want to hear more, or I'm interested, or ooh la la, or like something where she likes it, like if it's anything neutral or if it's negative, then it's dead right there. And you just kind of whatever, move on from it and you don't bring it up again. Now, again, I don't want to tell every guy to do this because it really all depends. Like I don't know if I would do this with a girl I haven't at least been on a date with yet, or at least have made out with yet. Yeah, you could totally do that if you've already had sex with her. But if we're talking about pre-sex or pre-hookup,
yeah, you want to do this with a girl that you've been like that's your friend that you've always wanted to hook up with. But you could do something like I was saying about you could say a crazy dream by last night and just kind of see where she's at. But yeah, I agree. I would really encourage guys though to start doing all of this immediately if you've at least already kissed a girl. Like it helps move it forward fast. So
right. And like we were saying before, it helps turn her on during the day, which can then get her in the mood for sex.
Yeah, if you're not utilizing this, it's a shame. It's a real shame.
So let's go into how to utilize it. What are some of your best techniques or mindsets in terms of sexting with a girl who is down. You're at the point where you're like, okay, like you could do it and it would be fine because you guys have already hooked up or you've already had sex or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, some of the fun ones are like, hey, let's play a game. And then they're like, okay, because a lot of them are like, I'm bored at school, I'm bored at work, keep me whatever. And so you say, I mean, you don't have to, this is what you can do when they say that, or you can just start it by saying, let's play a game. And you can do word association, and you do some words that you obviously are associated with naughties, like having sex and stuff. That's always fun because then you start seeing what they come back with and you play that. Or you can build a story together. Like, I like playing games where it gets them involved and start thinking about it. Or giving them bits and pieces as you go. Like talking about if we're like planning a trip together and then we do this and then I do this. And you add a lot of rich detail. So one of the things I go over I feel like not a lot of guys seem to get is words. Like women love words. The more attention you can give to detail helps her imagine. She wants to imagine it. Thus, what like even though we were joking, 50 Shades of Grey. Like, why do you think that was number one selling? Literotica, like romance novels outsell like any other genre. Is the words, the language. So building. Like, so for example, I talk about how to start using descriptive language. So for example, saying something like, this Coke was good versus oh, this Coke is delicious. It's like little baby angels dancing on my tongue. One paints a much more vivid picture that you can imagine that evokes stronger emotions. Like one for that is like funny because it's a funny image, but you can imagine it. But it also is saying that you like the Coke or you're enjoying it. So when talking about experiences, it's like build a story together and then be descriptive. Like, hey, so tonight, let's talk about what we're going to do tonight. Or a trip, like, all right, so we're going to Greece. All right, we get to our hotel room. It's overlooking the ocean. Your turn. What do we do next?
Oh, I
And
like
let her,
that.
let her start going, and then you can like push it towards, and then don't feel shy about pulling back away. So like moving it sexual, then move away, and then move into more sexual, and play back and forth. And it's so fun seeing the responses. Like sometimes I'll get, oh my God, Race, don't stop yet. Keep telling me more. I'm getting so turned on in the middle of class. And that's kind of what you're going for. So those are some really fun ways that I've found to do it. I'm sure you have some cool ones that you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of that, I mean, it's all different. Like I like to start off by telling her that I'm turned on. So I'll say
Ooh,
something like
nice.
that. So it's like giving it a reason almost. It's giving it a reason to do it. So, I don't know, texting her something like, it all depends on the relationship I have with the girl. Like sometimes it would just be really blunt. Just be like, I don't know what it is, but I'm so horny right now. I'm so turned on right now. And again, I would only be saying that to a girl that I've already had sex with. That's not
You're
something
right. Yeah.
I would never say that to a girl
So
who
you
we
don't
haven't.
just pick a number out of the phone book and just send it.
Right, exactly. That's a girl who I know she's going to be able to handle that. She's not going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? You know?
Yeah.
Or I might send something like, I just had the dirtiest thought about you. I
Awesome.
basically my mindset here, if I decide to do this, is I'm trying to not ask a question. I'm trying to say something that is obviously sexually related, but it gives her the opportunity to respond and
Right. Right.
and
Right.
and respond to it. You know what I mean? Like it's not a direct question. It's more like something that's going on. So it's kind of throwing the bait out there, and then however she hooks on, then, continue going. And then I like what you said about the details. Maybe you can even give some more thoughts on that in terms of the details. The details are so important, so you who's listening right now really understand that the reason why literotica works so well is because it is descriptive detail of sex between a guy and a girl. It's not just like they saw each other, they started kissing, he took down his
Then
pants,
they
and
boned.
they had sex, and then they both had orgasms. Like you know what I mean? It's not like a science
Yeah.
book. It's like written in all this detail of everything, the way you're feeling, the way that she's feeling, where you're touching her, so you can really get pretty descriptive in saying things like what you would want to do to her. And I think one of my tips would be, not only are you descriptive, but you go very micro. Like you could do a whole paragraph if you wanted to. If you really wanted to get intense with your sexting, you could do like a whole paragraph just focused on the way that you would kiss her or the way that
Yep.
you would touch her breasts. Like it doesn't even have to be, oh, I want to, touch her tits or squeeze your ass or something like that. Like you can go into fine detail about that, and that's what's going to really turn her on. And because what it does is it helps her paint a picture. She wants a picture in her head. She wants to visualize it. I mean, imagine us guys getting a very descriptive picture of what a girl might be doing to us. Her just being like, oh, I really want to blow you right now. That's pretty hot. But what if she was really detailed about how she would do it? It would be a turn on, right? So it's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing for her. What do you think?
Yeah. Like I would even say go. Well, one, you could read some of these books. You can look up free stuff online to just get an idea. Another one is watch, like, say, for example, what do girls seem to really go gaga over? Look at a scene in The Notebook. What's Ryan Gosling doing? I'd stare you intently in the eyes. put my hand on your back and slowly move it up. Like, just describe what's happening in detail, and you'll start getting a lot better at this. So yeah, it's all about painting the picture of what's going on. And like you said, it could even be, how are you kissing her? What do you do right before? Do you lean in and just like you're about to kiss her, and then you lean over and whisper something in her ear instead? And now she's wondering, did you whisper in her ear? Then I pull back. And you know what I mean? Now it's like just all this crazy stuff. It's like going on in her head. Like, holy cow, this is intense. What's going on? I'm feeling all these feelings. What did you whisper in my ear? What are you going to do next? This is so hot.
Right, right.
And this is something you could do literally with the object that's every day in your pocket to turn a girl on that much wherever she's at. It's amazing that we have this tool and this ability to do that. And so definitely, if you're not doing this, start doing this immediately with girls you're seeing and dating. And you know what? Don't, even if it's a girl that you haven't slept with yet, but you know you're into each other at least enough, like you've made out or you showed interest. You can start. Maybe you go lighter on it. Like, about, maybe it's a girl that you haven't kissed yet, but you definitely know you're attracted to each other and you're going on a date or a second date or something. You can start talking about, like, you say the dream, because that's always a fun one because it takes responsibility off you, and talk about how we had the most passionate kiss I've ever had. It was incredible. And then she'll start asking, most likely, once again, that's how you can gauge it and be like, yeah, I don't know, it was a dream and whatever. But she'll still be thinking about it when you go on that date. Or she'll be like, wow, no, tell me about it. And then you can get into descriptive detail of how talk about a date that you're going to go on. Like, we're here, and then, we're laughing, having a good time. Then all of a sudden we look at each other deep in the eye, each other's eyes. And I noticed, like, wow, this girl is actually different and amazing. And we both just felt this, like, spark and started leaning in towards each other. Like, you can just go like that. I'm just making this up off the top of my head, obviously. But that, I know that'll work, and it'll be very intense. And guess what she'll be thinking about the whole time? You won't have to be waiting till the end of the date. When you walk up to the door, she'll be thinking about it the whole time.
Yeah.
You could do it within the first 5 minutes because she's, like, so intensely waiting and has that sexual buildup.
Right, exactly. I made me think of something else too. You don't even have to go sexting. I think what guys have to understand is sexting doesn't have to be so overtly sexual. Like, it doesn't have to be all about, genitals and getting naked. You know what I mean? Like, sexting, even to a girl, even something that is completely PG, can turn her on. So I'll give you an example. This is something I didn't text a girl this. This is something I said to her, I remember, over the phone. This is a while back. And I remember saying to her something over the phone that was so PG, and I wasn't even trying to do anything. It wasn't like a technique. I was just saying it because I really felt it in the moment, which I'll say in a second. But it stuck with her for a while, and I remember her bringing it back up to me, and I was like, wow, that actually really, I didn't realize how much of an effect it had on her. So basically, I remember what I said, I have this fantasy. And she's like, oh, what is it? I'm like, I have this fantasy of you being in a movie theater, and you're watching a movie, and you're all alone, and you're watching it by yourself, and there's some other people in the theater. And then halfway through the movie theater, I come in, and I find you, and I sit down right next to you, and I put my hand right on your thigh. And that was it. That's all I said. Like, I mean, that's, like, not, like, dirty. That's not really dirty. But there's a lot of really, like, hidden things behind that, like things that are lead to the imagination. And plus, it just kind of offers up this fantasy of, like, this guy just coming out of nowhere and being and starting being sexual with her. So anyways, don't like steal that. I don't want guys to, like, steal that, because that's not your fantasy. So unless you really resonate with that, fine. But, like, the whole idea here, what I'm trying to say is it's a mindset, and the mindset is it doesn't always have to be right to sex or sexual. A lot of the teasing and build up, even if it's PG, even if it's about the way you look at her, the way you explain the way she smells, or any of that stuff, or just seeing her in a movie theater and touching her thigh, that is enough to really turn a girl on, like you were saying, Race.
Oh, agreed completely. Yes. In fact, many times skirting around it is far hotter than talking about it explicitly. And so, once again, where the descriptive language comes in, because you're talking about, like you were just saying, the way you smell it. She smells the way you like slide your hand like to the back of her neck and grab it and stare her in the eyes, and what you're feeling at that moment. Like, and I just felt like I had to have you, and like stuff like that. Like, it's incredible. It's such a huge turn on that will attack you when she comes over. Don't have to talk about then we bone.
Yeah, yeah.
It kind of like releases the tension because you want it to build up to the point where it's passionate, but you don't give her to the point where that passion is the buildup is released. You want to just keep it building. Some of the best ways are to work towards where you both know where it's going to end, but you don't get there.
Right.
That's what in person's for.
Right, exactly. That's a really good point. And I would also say too, just adding on to something you said a little bit earlier, just a bit of advice I would say to guys is that, I believe when guys ask me about texting and how to text and all that stuff, I believe texting really is, beyond sexting. The text messages are a way of getting her to meet up. It's like that should be the whole goal of texting a girl. So you use it to get her to meet up. If you're just texting her all day and there's no plans and you're not meeting up with her, well, then you just have a texting buddy.
You're just a text buddy.
Right, and who wants that, right? So I would say to guys, when it comes to sexting, it's fine to do it if you want to, but I would make sure that before you start going into sexting and turning around, make sure you have a date lined up. Even if you guys,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like if you guys already had sex and I don't know, a couple of days later you want to throw in some sexting and turn her on, like don't do that if you don't have plans to meet up again. And I say that for two reasons. One, it's like, again, you don't want to be a sexting buddy. You want to be a sex buddy, actually having sex. So you want to be getting her to meet up with you. And also two, sexting can be a cool way to build up what you guys might do together on that date that you've already made with her. Like you were saying earlier, Race, like you can kind of allude to some of your sexual desires in the text messages, so she knows for the next time when you guys get together that you guys can actually do those things. So I would say as a tip, almost as a rule, like make sure you have plans set in stone before you just go off and sext for no reason.
Right. Very, very good point.
Cool, man.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Any other tips or anything else that come to mind in terms
Nothing,
of...
that's it. That's the extent of all things I know.
That's everything right there.
I guess maybe one of the other things is but if you are in a situation where this is a girl you like, you guys have had some attraction, you've made out, maybe you've slept together and you feel that passion there, don't be afraid to do this. I know at the starting, like some of the things I sent, I would be so terrified that like, oh man, did I just run this and like put my phone under a pillow and sit on it? And then I'll get the text back and she's like into it. And I'm like, of course I knew this was going to work. It can be scary at first. So start off light, but do start off and try it because it's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing you both can share. It's a great tool. So don't be afraid to give it a try.
Awesome.
That would be a big thing because, anything new, especially with girls where you like, maybe it's just working out, you just like hooked up and I don't want to lose her. So I'm not going to say anything like that. I'll tell you right now, and I'm guessing you'll say something similar. Not using this, one is you're missing out on a big cool thing, and two, that fear of not doing that, of afraid of losing her, if you get too sexual, is probably going to lose her in the end because she's probably wants to be way more sexual than you even realize.
Right, exactly. I like that, man. That's great advice, dude. Thanks for coming on today and revealing some of your sexting secrets. I think the guys have a better idea now of what this is all about. So why don't you let them know where they can find you and learn more about your programs and stuff?
Sure, yeah. You can head over to a website where you can look at all my stuff at attractionrockstar.com. Got all of my sexting stuff up there, or you can just go straight to texttosex.com if you want to go there and grab the product right away and start sexting as soon as possible.
Sweet, dude. Thanks, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Guys, go check out that website. You'll learn a lot more good techniques on how to get better at texting and sexting. Thanks a lot, bro.
Hey, you're the man. Thanks for having me.